Okay, in this video, I want to show you how I installed these lights on my deck for my steps, and then I hooked it up to an Alexa controlled outlet so I can control the time and everything in the function using just the Alexa app on my phone. So the first thing I did was measure the distance of the steps, which ended up being 67 inches, and I wanted to figure out where to put the lights. So some people will break them into thirds, which can be tricky when you're adding lights in because that's usually where the stringers for the deck steps are. How I do it is I take the total, which in this case was 67 inches, and I divided it by 2, and then I divided it by 2 again. Another way to do this would just take 67 and multiply it by 25%, and that showed me where I wanted the lights to go to avoid the stringers and to give it a symmetrical look. That measurement came out to be 16 3/4. So then I just measured halfway up the riser. I took those values and transferred those over to a template on a scratch piece of decking that I had, then used the template to drill all of the holes so then I wouldn't have to remeasure on every single step, and it helps to avoid making mistakes. So this really sped the process up and improved the accuracy. So once I had the template created, I went over to the steps, simply made sure there was no obstructions in the corner, and started to drill each pilot hole. And using this template just saved me a ton of time. For the last 2 steps, they extended down past the wall, so I didn't have a place to put my template. So I could have gotten my laser level out to overcome this problem, but it being so sunny out and the quality of my laser level, I feel like it wouldn't have been worth it. So to overcome that, what I did was I got my level out, lined it up against the wall, and then lined the template with the level. And really the results came out great. This was a really good alternative to getting out the laser level and struggling to see it in the light. Next, I just took my pilot drill bit and just went through and drilled every hole just to make sure that I had drilled all the way through the riser. Now that the pilot holes were drilled, it was time to drill the hole for the actual light themselves. I ordered a Forstner bit off Amazon. You can see a picture of it here, and it was less than 10 bucks. It worked great. The trick to doing this is to try to make sure you level your drill in both vertical and horizontal. So you want to try to get that hole to go as straight as possible into it. And maybe every 2 or 3 holes that I drilled, I went through and cleaned off the bit just so it would drill a little more efficiently. And all in all, it went really well. I had one small mistake where I had the riser split and the pilot hole didn't work and the Forstner bit got away from me. So I just went and sanded that back down later and stained it, and the only person who can see it is me. Next, I went through and put a stain on the inside of each hole that I drilled just to make sure, just to give it an extra layer of protection. Now it's time to start installing the lights. These clip in really nice. If they're embedded, there are these cups that go around them that you can use to put them in. I didn't require these. The clips that are on the outside that expand out when you put in really held them in very well, and I was really happy with it. So I went ahead and the one thing you just have to be aware of is you cannot push both wires through the hole at the same time. So you have to feed them one in at a time. It doesn't take too long, but it's really easy. Then go ahead, clip them in. Now there was a backing on a couple of them, so I had to use the Forstner bit to drill through it, and then I got a smaller bit, just a spade bit, and punched through the back of that so I could feed the wire through. Next was my least favorite part, and this was tying all of the lights together. The one thing I would highly recommend doing is taking an extra second to know which end of the light goes into the power supply, because if you get that wrong, you could wire all of the lights the opposite way, and then you'd have to go through and undo them or move the power supply. So just check the paperwork. I didn't mount the power supply first. I was just very careful with how to string it together. The next part was to mount the power supply For the string of lights, this converts the 120 volts from, in this case, I use an extension cord, to 12 volts. And this worked out really well. I mounted it in a place where I knew water doesn't come in, and so I knew it would be secure from that. They say it's waterproof, but I tried to be a little extra careful, mounting these with the screws that were made available. Then I mounted this Alexa-controlled outdoor outlet. This is going to help us to be able to program and control the lights without needing a switch. And this was so simple. I ordered it on Amazon for 20 bucks. It was extremely easy to mount. It just takes one screw. Mounted it next to the power supply. And then once that was there, all I had to do was plug the power supply into, in this case, I used outlet 1. This is really nice because there's actually 2 outlets here. So one outlet can be controlled separately from the other. So I can use the other outlet for maybe lights underneath my deck, or if I really needed to, even Christmas lights. So then I just wanted to kind of make it look nice. So I took the extra power line from there that I didn't require anymore, mount that up there so it's out of the way. Then I'm going to come in here, plug in my extension cord, and then after that I just needed to check it. And I have to tell you, once I plugged that outlet in, within 20 seconds I got an alert from my Alexa app saying that a new device was on the network. I tried it out here by pushing the button a couple times, got onto the network, tied into it, named it Backdoor Steps. Here you can see how it works. I basically log into my Alexa app, activate the plug. There's a couple different ways to get through there through the app, turn it on or off. And it usually takes like a half a second or so before it links into the actual controller. But as you can see here, it turns on and off, and my wife can come through and program it for specific times when we want it to be turned on. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching.